Hey, listen, very seldomly does a movie come about that really like sticks to your ribs, make you think about it while you're watching it. And you wake up the next day and you think about it some more. That movie is out right now. It's called Judas and the Black Messiah, streaming on HBO Max and in theaters as well. And we have, the two brothers who's responsible for, putting the words to the screen. Kenny and Keith, Lucas. The Lucas brothers is in the house. What up, brothers?
What's up, man? What's up, man? How's everything?
Everything's great. And first and foremost, as I told everybody who jumped on this, interview with us regarding this movie, phenomenal job.
Thank you.
I walked out of the experience Rosewood mad.
Of course.
Which is a vibe. And it's just sad that we're still doing the same act, but the clothes and the cars have changed. You know what I mean?
Right,
same stuff that was happening in this movie is happening right now.
Absolutely.
How did you how did you see the parallels and be able to capture the energy of it the way you did?
I mean, that's a great question, man. I think it was just like when you come across Fred's story and you see the extent to which the FBI and the Chicago Police Department, the extent to which they went through to take him out, you can't help but draw parallels to, say, George Floyd or Breonna Taylor. I mean, you just can't escape it. It's inescapable.
I mean, because it's connected. It's all connected.
Right. And the thing about Hampton's story is that that particular chapter of Black history occurred right before Nixon became president, before he launched the war on drugs. So we're literally getting that pre-transition into mass incarceration. So I think that's what's so just spellbinding about his story is like, Jesus, this happened before they were locking brothers up in mass. This was just something that they did. And it was sort of the birth of mass incarceration, in my opinion.
Indeed. And, to capture the energy too of the time, the conversation and everything that was going on, who all did you have access to just so you got it right?
Right. Well, first and foremost, shout out to Shaka King and Will Burson. They were very, very crucial in terms of, getting the mood and the setting correct. I mean, Shaka is a genius, and he has this. He has a lot of knowledge about 70s cinema. Mm-hmm. So I think that, he used a lot of his knowledge with regards to 70s cinema to capture the mood and the tone of.
And his process is crazy. Like he took he got 200 photos of that time period and showed a set, the production design to that. And we also spoke to ex-Panthers. We spoke to current Panthers. We had Fred Hampton Jr.
On set every day.
We had Fred Hampton Jr. on set every day. And we had Mother Kaluuya, Deborah Johnson. She was there when she could be there. So we had a lot of cultural experts just sort of coaching us through what the texture of that time was.
Right.
And even down to the minutia, because we had some of the Panthers smoking cigarettes a lot, and they were like, well, they didn't smoke cigarettes that much. So it was small details like that.
It was a very meticulous process. And I think it was important for the team to capture not only the essence, but as much of the truth as possible. Obviously it's a film and you have to take creative liberties, but I think it was important for everyone involved to make sure we tell the story as accurate as possible.
No, the devil's definitely in the details. Every time I watch something that's like a period piece, I I'll zoom in on my my TV screen and make sure no cars that weren't supposed to be there ain't there. Is that a Kia? You know what I'm saying? That sort of vibe. But
they didn't have Kias back then.
Yeah, you get mad this movie's whack now. But not caught at all. Now, there was so many touching moments in it, so many iconic speeches that were recreated. Was there a particular day of filming that was tough for you to watch or see? And also too, because these are the words you wrote. So maybe you were numb to it. Was anything tougher than other things?
It was two scenes in particular. So we were fortunate enough to be on set during the church scene. And that's when, Kaluuya gives this big speech after they find out that Jake Winters has been killed. And the crazy thing is, the first time we put together our story outline, we wanted to start with that scene of him in the church giving this rousing speech. But, I mean, it was weird to walk into it and to see it holy Christ,
it's coming to fruition.
Right. So we're on set, and we get there, and the energy is just pervasive, because it's a bunch of people inside the church, and they're clapping and they're screaming and they're just like really into it. Then you see Kaluuya as Fred Hampton. He walks up to the pulpit, and you can just right when he starts speaking, you sort of feel the spirit of Fred Hampton in the room. Right. And it's like, because it's his words, right? You don't really have to massage Fred Hampton's words. He speaks power. He speaks truth to power. And so, Kaluuya is just like, he's on another level, man. It was so captivating just to see him just transform into Hampton and like really, really embody the essence of who Hampton was. And after he, did the first take, people were just started clapping. I'd never seen anything like this before in my life. People just started giving him a standing ovation, and I was like, "This is magnetic, magical." Right. But on the flip side, we were also on set when it was the death scene, and they had to the cops come in and shoot up the room, and it was so triggering and traumatic, and it was rough to sit through, watch, and I was always observing Fred Hampton Jr. just to see, like, what was he think? What was he feeling? And, you can tell, like, it was uncomfortable. It was unsettling, to be there, to watch how your father was taken out by the pigs, essentially. And so it was rough to go through that. I had trouble sleeping after, observing it. But, that's what this movie's about. You get the beauty and the speeches of Fred Hampton, but you also have to remember that this is a tragedy, and the American justice system hasn't been condemned properly enough for what they did.
Yeah, right. I mean, the truth is very uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, no matter like how you slice it. Now, one thing, you mentioned Daniel Kaluuya, who's an amazing actor. And I know he's catching a lot of smoke in the beginning. By a lot of the ADOS crew, because like, he's from overseas, I mean, what do you say to that? Because like, I've always occupied a space where I feel like, hey man, acting is about stretching yourself farther than you could possibly go. And for him to be in Fred Hampton mode and at no point break character and start sounding like Colin Firth, because that's his real accent. You know what I'm saying? Give this man every trophy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what's your take?
Look, I've sort of wrestled with this, this opposition for a while now, and I've tried to understand ADOS's perspective, and I think that they do make some points that are pretty sound when you examine the history of slavery and the way in which whites have kept African Americans out of particular institutions and industries and have depressed the market for them. I get that economic argument. I think where I disagree with ADOS is in their approach. Rather than attacking the system itself, they attack the people who sort of, have worked to try to improve the system. And I think that's where I disagree with them. I think, especially when it comes to Hollywood, like, if you look at someone like Sidney Poitier, he wasn't African American. He was he was from the Caribbean, but he pushed very hard to get equality for African Americans on set. And for me, I would have to discount that and say his contributions to a Denzel or to a Michael B. Jordan doesn't matter because he wasn't a descendant of a slave. It just, you find yourself in this very weird position where you have to dismiss certain Black people because they are descendants of slaves. And I can't ignore that. I mean, if you look at Du Bois, or you look at Marcus Garvey, or even Malcolm X, who's not a full descendant of a slave, I don't want to find myself in a trap where I'm dismissing Black people because they may not be of full lineage. It seems like a reverse sort of discriminatory policy, which I think we need everybody in this fight against white supremacy. Be them Caribbean, I don't care.
Yeah, the same way, Fred Hampton got everybody in this fight against, all the injustices that was going on. He recruited the Puerto Ricans. He talked to the whites. I mean, they built with everybody, we talked about Daniel Kaluuya. Let's talk about Lakeith Stanfield. And I don't know where to place more of the credit, whether it was y'all tight writing or the fact that Lakeith is as dope as he is, because he's incredible.
I mean, Shaka and Lakeith had such a real tight bond, and I felt like Shaka was able to really, really get a great performance out of him. But I'm not giving all credit to Shaka. You got to give a lot of credit to Lakeith because he's brilliant. He's a brilliant actor. And this was a tough role for him, man. He struggled with embracing this role because it's a fucking. I mean, I'm sorry for cursing. It's a snitch, man. It's a person
by every
that,
stretch of the imagination.
Every stretch of it.
It's a person that is hard to sympathize with, but Lakeith is such a brilliant actor, man, and he was able to really, really show nuance to a character that's hard to. He really just captured that internal struggle. I think you could sense that he was really struggling with the role, and then when you see it on camera, you're like, oh, this guy really just like took it to another level. I mean, between him and Daniel, they're both playing two different roles, but to see those oppositional roles together just created this very nice balance, this very nice tonal balance. And I think, he's incredible.
In telling the story, guys, I want to find out what were some of the things that you felt like, or maybe that were left on the cutting room floor, or were just specifically taken out that were like, hey, we can still tell the story without this, but this is something that maybe if we could put it back in the movie, it would be there in telling the story.
So in Chicago there were a bunch of we had political organizations, you had gangs. It was the ecosystem of progressive politics versus criminal gangs was like very, very rich. We touch on it with the Crowns, but you had a bunch of different subsections of gangs competing for turf, competing for government funding, competing for drug routes. Like, so it was this weird sort of like mix of criminality and civil rights progressive politics that I would have loved to like more thoroughly explore because it's so fascinating. It feels like it's Gangs of New York, but cry freedom at the same time. I don't know. It's like a very it was a lot that we couldn't keep in because it just slowed down the pacing of the story. But if we had more time, I would have really loved to explore that ecosystem.
Understood. I mean, I got a lot in a 2 hour and 7 minute span, I think is the runtime of the movie.
Right.
And,
right.
I want to pivot real quick, because, I know you from the comedy world, Billy Sorrells, I'm sure, like, maybe y'all have even played some, festivals and some shows together. How ill is it to make that transition from the comedy world to writing such a hard-hitting piece? Because your comedy is very intelligent, so this wasn't a far stretch for people who've seen y'all. But to extend yourselves.
Right. I mean, it's crazy. Everyone who's involved in terms of the writing. Like, we wrote the story, but Will and Shaka, who wrote the script, they're from a comedy background too. So that's how we all connected. We all connected through comedy, and just it's weird because it's crazy. I don't see drama as diametrically opposed to comedy. I think they're sort of in the same. They're in the same family, right? I think a lot of comedians, especially the best ones, you get someone like Richard Pryor, they come from very tragic backgrounds. And I think that because of his tragic background, Pryor was able to have a very acute understanding of not just comedy, but tragedy as well. And I think you get that with a lot of comedians. And even with someone like Jordan Peele, who had a comedy background and pivoted with Get Out, like, we tend to have a very acute understanding of the nature of tragedy, and it's just not, for me, it's like it's not even that different. Yeah, I would say like structurally, comedy and drama are very similar. The only the difference, of course, is that with a comedy, you wanna end happily, right? And then in between the beginning of your film and to the end of the film, where it's a happy ending, you want to evoke laughter. But everything else, in terms of timing and structure and how you get from point A to point B, that's all the same. It's just in tragedy, you want to evoke different types of emotion. Like you want to evoke pain, a sorrow, and then your ending has to be negative, I would say. Or hopeful. Or, I guess it could be hopeful, but usually it's not. Yeah, usually it's not. So I think that the tragedy and comedy thing is like, they're more similar than they are distinct. And I think when you're doing a lot of comedy, people sometimes just see you guys as the people who evoke happiness, but like we can still evoke pain too. It's just a matter of doing it.
Gotcha. Right. I'm interested to see where this takes you guys and what's possibly the next step. And a lot of people are like, what's next for you guys? But as do you guys ever have any hopes of returning to the stage, or is this kind of a solid pivot for you guys as far as career choices, or one of you guys going to the stage and one of you not? Like, is there still some other writing stuff going on?
Yeah, no, man.
That's a great question, man.
Yeah, we're never leaving the stage. I think that's just.
I love it. I love it.
I'm too obsessed with it. I think it's. I feel like I can't. I feel like I'm not even myself because I can't get on stage now, and it's like killing me inside because I have so much to talk about. But I just I love the stage. I love comedy. I think the next thing we're gonna do is we're writing a feature film for a comedy.
Okay.
More of a dramedy, but definitely still in a comedy space. So I think we're just gonna because this, Fred Hampton's heavy, and this Judas was a very heavy process. So I think we need to, relax our minds and do.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, I mean, we want to stay, real flexible. We're gonna do everything. We're gonna do everything that we can possibly do. If it's a drama, it's a comedy. It really just depends on just like what we're feeling at the time, and what our spirits are feeling. I just feel like you never want to limit yourself creatively, and you want to just do all that you feel that you can do. Wherever thoughts you have in your mind, this process has taught me, like, whatever thoughts you have in your mind, if you're relentless enough and you really believe in it, you can get it done. So again, shout out to the entire production team and Warner and Charles King and Shaka and all those guys who really, took this to the next level.
Keith and Kenny Lucas is very dope that y'all entered in comedy together, because y'all definitely was set up to be like the comedy version of MF Doom, where you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sure there was Keith that night. No, that was Kenny. It was Kenny. I don't know, but y'all rocked it out together. So before we roll, man, I want to keep it light, because I know the movie's very intense and very serious. There's a game called At the Same Damn Time. I'm gonna ask you guys a question, and I need y'all to answer it at the same damn time. We'll give you a 3 count. All right.
Okay.
Soundtrack's pretty lit. Keith and Kenny Lucas, what is the best song on the Judas and the Black Messiah soundtrack? 3, 2, 1.
I'm going with Pushesti.
I'm going with Nipsey.
Okay, y'all weren't on the same page with that one.
Sorry.
A lot of murder, violence, and crime. In the movie, very heavy subject matter. Who made people laugh the most on the set? 3, 2, 1.
Lakeith, yeah.
Wow, he's such an intense dude. You would think, you'd be like, in Bill mode. All right. Last but not least, Keith and Kenny Lucas, what word was heard the most on the set? 3,
right on.
2.
Right on.
Right on.
Keeping it 70s. But much love to you guys, man. Can't wait to see y'all back on stage and all, and whatever y'all do next. The movie's called Judas and the Black Messiah, streaming now on HBO Max and available in theaters. Catch a matinee, less people in there, and the money can go back to the hood. We need that, man. People want to follow y'all. Where do we go?
We go Lucas Bros Instagram, and the Lucas Bros Twitter.
There it is, man. Keith and Kenny Lucas, y'all.
Thank you, brother.
Man. This was awesome.
Thank you guys so much, man.
We are the Morning Hustle.